very simply,
You don't
very
feel at
simply
all
for the American
alarmed that
people and what the choices are.
Dan, you're not at all alarmed that the
The only
last
thing that alarms me
administration
is your
ended with people
high-pitched,
storming the
shrieking
Capitol?
voice.
We're about to have a look at a debate between Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Some would call him a rhino and a warmonger. He's not my favorite person by any means, but I do like the arguments that he presents here in this debate with Tim Miller, who is basically I stop short of calling him mainstream media, but he is a Democrat pundit, basically. He's a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, much like Sink Uger and David Pacman, in my opinion. But they get into some good stuff. Kamala Harris's economy versus Donald Trump's economy. Of course, I expect Tim Miller to mention January 6th because that's always a go-to for these people. And they even touch on Kamala Harris's recent circuit that she's been running of going on all these crazy Democrat left-wing, essentially, talk shows and things like that. So with that, let's go ahead and get her started.
On the 60 Minutes interview, Tim, that she did, I would just be concerned if I was a Democrat voter or leaning towards that way. I'd be very concerned about how she answers questions about the economy. She had no answer. I mean, that was an excruciating exchange and rightly got the mockery it deserved. And that's my issue with Kamala Harris. It's not that she's not intelligent. She obviously is. She's done extremely well with her life as a lawyer, senator, and so on. It's not that she, isn't personable. And it's not that I don't share her vision that we'd all love to feel more joyful. It's how are we going to get to this utopia? And she has single-handedly, throughout all of these exchanges, declined or doesn't know how we're going to get to utopia. Does that not concern you?
Yeah, no, because we're not getting to utopia. We need somebody to run and manage the government, okay, Piers? And so on this question of how she's going to pay for her plans, there isn't a good answer, so she didn't give one. I agree with that. I'm a fiscal conservative. I wish that they would be balancing the budget. But here's the thing. She's running against Donald Trump, whose answer to that question is even more incoherent. Despite Dan's attempt at a history lesson over there, what Donald Trump said was how he was going to pay for his plans was that he was going to tariff China, and we were going to use the tariff money as if it's like a government fee, like we're getting this fee, and that he's going to pay for free healthcare. He's going to pay for childcare. He's going to pay for everything with these magical tariffs. Like, he has no coherent answer on this. And here's the other thing. What is not good for the economy is instability. And Donald Trump is an absolute wreck of a human. We have no idea what he would do in a second term. When he left office, there was a mob of people storming the Capitol trying to attack Congressman Crenshaw. That's what was happening. They were waving his flag. They were storming the Capitol. They were trying to keep him in power. I'm sorry, just let me finish this. Let me finish this.
It's such a strange thing to say.
Let me finish this. No, I'm sorry. This is what happened at the end of his term. And even his own supporters were like, we are concerned that he can't stay in another 14 days. They talked about the 25th Amendment. Dan Crenshaw at the time said that he was on the side of the rioters, that the president was on the side of the rioters. That's what he said. And now, because of that, his own vice president, his own chief of staff, it's not me, it's not somebody that is obsessed with Trump, his own Department of Transportation, Secretary of Defense, all of these people can't support him again because they don't know what he's going to do, because he's so erratic, because he's of such low character. We can't put somebody like that in. That is dangerous for the country, for our democracy, but also for the economy.
But we have to go back to what you said. You've got to go back to what you said about the economy and not knowing what he's going to do. That's nonsense. You know exactly what he's going to do because he led the country for 4 years.
You don't want to talk about it.
Well, I want to talk about what actually matters to people, and if you actually poll people and talk to regular people, what matters to them is the economy. What matters to them is immigration.
Why did you guys
lose the midterms? For you to say that we have no idea, we have no idea what Donald Trump's going to do in the next 4 years. Of course we have an idea, because he governed for 4 years, and you know what he did?
No, it's
a really
totally
good job with the economy. And I realize that you don't know that. But like 60-70% of Americans do know that.
Congressman,
and so for you to say we just have no idea, it's all going to be all over the place. That's nonsense. We know exactly what he's going to do.
It will. Congressman, the people that were that were running the government with him last time don't support him again. Most of his cabinet doesn't support him. He has a new vice president. In the box at the RNC convention, okay, in the presidential nominees box, it wasn't Dan Crenshaw. It wasn't Pence. The people around him was Tucker Carlson.
Since you know so well.
What's that?
You know, I hear these Democrat pundits mention that all the time, that the people that supported him the first time don't support him now. Well, I mean, the reason why, in my opinion, is because of the way that the mainstream media treated these people. they ruined a lot of these people's lives, even the Democratic apparatus in government. They went and investigated everybody close to Trump, and they shoved a telescope up their asses trying to find any and everything they could get against Donald Trump, and even indicting some of these people for separate crimes and then labeling them some type of bad person and using that in their association with Donald Trump against Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump didn't do anything, didn't have anything to do with that. And so most people are just like, it's not worth it to me to go through that again. I would argue it has nothing to do with Donald Trump himself. They probably still support Donald Trump and believe in Donald Trump, but they just don't want to be treated the way they've been treated before. And a lot of these people probably lost a lot of money in the process. They probably lost a lot of respect from their peers. And like I said, they just don't want to go through it again, And so this time around, it's a bolder class of individuals that are surrounding Donald Trump. He has a lot more experience, and I believe he has picked, better people potentially, cleaner records, things like that, cleaner histories, or just whatever it is. We know Michael Cohen was one of them. Scaramucci was one of them before. Ann Coulter supported Donald Trump real early. She loves to brag about that, but then he didn't deliver to her what she thought she was going to get out of it. So now she's kind of anti-Donald Trump, which is weird to me, at least publicly. I think that's more of her trying to sell her books and stuff like that. But, I wouldn't doubt that she's going to go and vote for him. But it's just that type of stuff right there. There's more and more. The list is long. And without getting into it, I believe that those people just believe that it's not worth the personal risk to themselves, their family, to face that scrutiny again. Right? And they'll leave it up to somebody else this time. And so, anyways, let's continue. I'm just tired of hearing that stupid talking point, right?
Which policies are changing?
What was the question?
Which policies are changing?
Well, for example,
is it going to be? Let me guess. It's going to be lower regulations and lower taxes, just like Republicans.
Well, you know what's actually very
That's
interesting.
pretty much what our economic policies are.
Let me jump
He's
in
not
there.
running on that.
Hang on. Let me jump in. I want to play a clip.
He's not running on that, Dan. Wake up to what the party
Tim.
is
Let me
now.
respond.
He had Tucker.
Tim, that's what I'm saying.
I
want to play. Hang on. Let me.
One of his first executive
Sorry, I am
orders was
moderating this, chaps.
cutting 3 regulations.
I am
for
here.
everyone.
I want to play a clip. This is from her appearance on Colbert. And the reason I'm playing it, it plays into what you're both talking about here. Because the key determination for people is going to be, well, is she responsible for everything that Joe Biden has done? Were they a team? And is everything on her shoulders now that would have been on Biden's on this ticket? And if not, is there any point of difference? Here's what she told Colbert on The View. And when they asked a similar question, she was not able to articulate a single thing in which she would do differently if it was down to her. So she's wedded completely to everything that Joe Biden did as president. That seems a very, very risky strategy to me, given how unpopular Biden was before he pulled out.
She doesn't say at all how any of her policies would actually help small businesses. I talk to small business owners all the time. The one thing they need more than anything else is less regulation, easier to permit, less taxes. They need it to be easier to create a business. Republican policies do that. And you have to associate the policies with outcomes before you lay any blame or before you give any credit. She can't even articulate what she's even talking about. And nobody knows what her economic policy is based on these answers. And in the end, it's what we actually want is what we got under Donald Trump. Under Donald Trump, you actually had wage growth. And the lowest quintile of earners had 16% wage growth. Under Biden and Harris, 0%, because wage growth didn't outpace inflation. Inflation was created by too much government spending. Do not take my word for that. You can look at the Fed minutes and their assessment of it under a Biden administration, by the way. And what happened was when you add too much money into the economy, which is in the form of welfare or in the form of corporate cronyism under the IRA with hundreds of billions of dollars spent that's going to NGOs and nonprofits and venture capitalists that are then going to green renewable energy, what are you going to get? You're going to get massive inflation just like we got under Biden and Harris. That's what people are going to remember. And we can actually associate those outcomes with the policies that they implemented.
All right, Tim, surely, Tim, you must recoil a bit when you see the way she responds to those kind of questions. She literally says nothing.
I don't.
It's just blather.
I don't because this is the thing. You guys don't want to show Donald Trump's answers because they're even more word salad. It's lies and it's conspiracies and it's dangerous. And that's why we're not showing his interviews where he's lying about what's happening with Hurricane Helene right now, or the debate where Kamala mopped the floor with him. Here's the thing. Congressman Crenshaw wants your audience to think that the Republican Party right now is the same as it was in 2017, and that the Donald Trump administration will be the same as it was when he brought in a bunch of traditional Republicans to be around him in his cabinet and to work in his staff. And I'm sorry, that's just an imaginary world that the congressman wants to live in to feel comfortable. Because what the world we live in now is all of those people. No, I'm sorry, Piers, let me finish. All of those people are gone now. And at the RNC at the box, the people around Trump are Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. Tucker had a prominent spot to speak at the convention. Congressman Crenshaw did not. This new party is a nativist party that's going to be about mass deportations and tariffs and revenge on Donald Trump's enemies. If you don't believe me, listen to what Donald Trump says. And I just want to know why Congressman Crenshaw thinks that he understands where the party is better than Trump's own vice president, Mike Pence, who assesses this and says, no, this is not someone we can trust. Why does Congressman Crenshaw think that he knows better than Mike Pence about Donald Trump's character and what kind of policies he would put in place?
Dan, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so I'll just remind everybody that we're about to vote in November. And on your ballot, it doesn't ask you the question of whether Donald Trump is the same as Jesus Christ. That's not what the question is. The question is, do you prefer Donald Trump or do you prefer Kamala Harris? And so any reasonable and objective person is going to look at that question and they're going to say, well, okay, well, what things matter to me? Do I want better immigration policy? Do I want my border to actually have law and order around it? Do I want my cities to be safe? Do I want a peace through strength type of foreign policy? Do I want Abraham Accords or do I want October 7th?
These guys can't answer this.
Do I want a better economy with less regulations? Do I want my oil and gas industry to be pummeled by regulation after regulation? Or do I want my electricity prices to go back down? That's the question. And that's the question that people are going to be answering.
That's a damning non-answer, to borrow a phrase.
Mass deportations, a vast majority, that's not a non-answer. I'm the only one actually giving facts here.
It is a non-answer. Why do you know better than Mike Pence?
Mass deportation is broadly supported by the American people, including Hispanics.
Why shouldn't we listen to Donald Trump's vice president as chief of staff?
So ask the question a different way then, Tim.
Why shouldn't we listen to Mike?
Them. I'm not here to answer for them. I'm here to answer for me.
Alarm you?
I'm here to lay this out very simply.
You don't
very
feel
simply
at all
for the American
alarmed
people and what the choices are.
Dan, you're not at all alarmed that the last
thing that alarms me is
ended with people storming the Capitol?
That was pretty funny right there. You know, it just annoys me, right? This is something that we see constantly with these Democratic pundits, right? These dudes that are just out here talking because they are so tribal and they hate Donald Trump so much that they're willing to say and do everything. And they act like they demand respect, yet they give no respect. And it's something that I just got to point out right here because, you know, if you rewind it a little bit, you'll see Tim Miller in here saying, can I finish my point? Can I finish? But at the same time, in the same interview, he interrupts and cuts off both Piers Morgan and Dan Crenshaw multiple times. It's just ridiculous. It's like they live on their own little high horse and they feel superior to everybody else. They feel like their words are the most important things, and then he wants to laugh in Dan Crenshaw's face for not answering his question directly when most people don't give two craps about Mike Pence's opinion. He wants to sit here and act like he's going to be this white knight for Dan Crenshaw, like, I'm standing up for you, Dan Crenshaw. You should have spoke at the RNC. No, most of the people don't actually like Dan Crenshaw that much, okay? So the fact is, you know, Dan Crenshaw is going to sit here and defend Donald Trump in this instance because Tim Miller's points are so ridiculous. People would rather hear Dan Crenshaw tell the truth and talk to and address the American people on what is important for and to the American people. That is our lack of jobs, the overflow of immigration, countless things. He just listed it. I don't need to repeat it. That's what's more important. And Donald Trump is listening to the American people. That's why he mentioned the Haitians eating the cats and dogs, because he's listening to the American people. He's not out here doing interviews on Howard Stern and Stephen Colbert and The View and whoever else that Kamala Harris is doing, trying to hit the mainstream media circuit. Donald Trump is out here rallying in Butler, Pennsylvania, revisiting the place where somebody shot him in the ear, shot him in the face, in my opinion. Somebody try to correct me in comments and say the ear isn't the face, but I mean, you look at my face, you can see my ear. I mean, whatever. It's the same thing, right? Stupid. But My point is Donald Trump is out here talking to the people, listening to the people, and it's amazing to me that he is so in tune with the American people, considering he is a multi-billionaire elite, and he gets it better than these Democrat talking point lover pundits. Basically, he gets it better than Kamala Harris. He gets it better than Joe Biden. These people just want to live on their high horse, talk down at you from their mansions on their mountaintops, and meanwhile Donald Trump is down in the scrums listening to everybody, in my opinion. And so keep in mind all those things that Dan Crenshaw pointed out when you go and consider who you're voting for here in the next couple weeks, because we're getting down to it. Early voting is going to start soon, and that's another thing that I recommend people do. Vote as early as you can in this upcoming election, because typically Republicans like to wait till election day. And we've seen things happen. Even the CloudStrike thing that happened a month or two ago, it can just shut things down. It can mess your life up and get you distracted. And you know, it's easy to say, well, I'm so busy today that my vote doesn't matter. My one vote doesn't count. Well, it does. Because if a multitude of people make that same decision, they're affected on election day for one reason or the other, it could cost America greatly, right? And so, you know, with that, I think I'll just go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you agree with my points, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.